Harrison Ford in Blade Runner 1982. Warner Bros.courtesy Everett collection. The Wall Street Journal recently reported on the Blade Runner curse. If you're familiar with the 1982 sci-fi cult classic, constantly reissued in some new director's cut or special edition, you'd be forgiven for thinking the curse had something to do with a mysterious crone casting an evil eye on the producers, vowing the film would spend eternity in an editor's suite. But that's not the whammy the Journal had in mind. The movie conjured a Los Angeles of 2019 whose steamy streets teem with flying cars and neon advertising, writes Don Steinberg. Then came the curse. Many of the robust brands shown thriving in the cinematic future ran into financial troubles in the real world. Director Ridley Scott thought that using real corporate titans at the time, Coca-Cola, Atari, RCA Corporation, Bell Telephone, Cuisinart, Pan Am, Koss Headphones, Tsingtao Beer, would help convey his gloomy foreboding about the triumph of corporate power in our not-too-distant future. By my count, of the 8 companies depicted in the movie, 5 either disappeared, were broken up, or were bought by other firms. Atari, which controlled 80% of the home video game market, went belly-up, though the name has been bought and revived by another company. Koss and Cuisinart went bankrupt, though Conair bought the Cuisinart brand out of Chapter 11 in 1989. Bell Telephone was split into different companies. Coca-Cola survived, but in 1985 it took it on the chin with the new Coke debacle. Hence the Blade Runner curse. Appearing in the movie apparently jinxed businesses. And yet, many companies have lined up to appear in the forthcoming sequel, Blade Runner 2049. Maybe these firms aren't superstitious, or perhaps they know something that's lost on science fiction writers. As my National Review colleague Kevin D. Williamson noted in a brilliant essay, "Hey, where's my corporate dystopia?" The idea that corporations will one day take control of our lives has been a staple of science fiction and left-wing Jeremiahs for generations. At its best, Williamson writes, science fiction imagines a future that illuminates the present, but on the subject of the social role of the corporation, science fiction has long been backward-looking, out of touch with the reality it would analyze. For all their alleged power, big corporations are often powerless when it comes to the task of surviving. As Williamson notes, only 67 of the firms in the Fortune 500 in 1955 remained there by 2011. And the death rate is accelerating. The same dynamic holds true for another favorite supervillain, the super-rich. French economist Thomas Piketty argued in his widely celebrated book Capital in the 21st Century that the rich only get richer over a long period of time, creating a permanent aristocracy of wealth. And while it's true that the combined net worth of the 1% has increased, the actual people in the 1% come and go. Fewer than 10% of the 400 wealthiest Americans who appeared on the Forbes list in 1982 were still there in 2012. As for the permanent aristocracy of wealth, of the 20 biggest fortunes on the 2013 Forbes list, 17 were self-made. What explains this? Simply capitalism itself. The Blade Runner curse isn't real, it's normal. The economist Joseph Schumpeter famously pointed out that monopolies can't last forever in a free market because monopolies get ossified and overly dependent on their existing business models. Entrepreneurs and innovators figure out new techniques and technologies that run circles around the big guys. That was the whole point behind another Ridley Scott masterpiece, his 1984-themed Super Bowl commercial for Apple Computer, which symbolically dethroned IBM as the Orwellian colossus bestriding the personal computer industry. As Adam Smith noted, the only thing that can make a monopoly permanent is government, because only government can prevent the sort of innovation and competition that undermines every corporate behemoth. And that's why the most plausible dystopian visions, like Orwell's 1984, involve the state exceeding its rightful authority and imposing its idea of how everyone else should live, humans, replicants and businesses alike.